All right, so we are moving into our content for Unit 4, starting off with Learning Target 4-1, which is creating ions. We have our two learning goals here. Now, something we already know is that elements have similar properties when they have similar number of valence electrons. So what we've done here is we've cut out the transition metals here, and we can write the number of valence electrons above each group. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. We've also learned that isotopes change the number of neutrons in an atom. So now, what is an ion? An ion is an atom that has lost or gained at least one electron. So it's an atom that does not have its normal predicted number of electrons. Now, in order to determine if an atom will gain or lose electrons, we have to first start by looking at the number of valence electrons, which are those electrons on that outermost shell. So I can see that in my Lewis diagram here, I have my 5 valence electrons shown. Also in my Bohr model here, I also have my 5 valence electrons on my outermost ring. So, knowing that nitrogen has 5 valence electrons, how many more does it need to be stable? Our answer is 3 more electrons. If it gains 3 electrons, it will gain -3 charge because each electron equals a -1 charge. So it needs 3 more electrons, 1, 2, 3, to become stable and have that full octet. And this is what we're going to call an anion. It's a negatively charged ion. So it's negatively charged because we are gaining electrons. We are gaining negative charge. We know that nitrogen is going to gain electrons because it has a high electronegativity. If you recall that trend of electronegativity on the periodic table, how it increases going this way, and nitrogen is somewhere about here. Now go ahead, pause the video, and draw a Lewis and Bohr diagram for lithium. Alright, so here are my Lewis and my Bohr diagrams for lithium. Now looking at these, lithium is going to need 7 more to gain a full octet. Is it going to be easier for lithium to gain 7 or to just lose 1 electron to fulfill that duet rule? The answer is going to be it's easier to lose 1 than gain 7. So if we're losing an electron, that means we are getting a positive charge because we are losing a negative charge. So we are gaining a +1 positive charge. This is called a cation, a positively charged ion. You can remember this because we spell cation this way. That T in the middle is your signal, your reminder that it's positive. Cations are positive. Also, if we remember our trend, lithium has a low electronegativity. It's over here on the periodic table, so it's more likely to lose an electron. Now, these are the ion trends for each group or family. Go ahead and write these down in your notebook. So, group 1 here is going to tend to be a +1 ion. Group 2 will be a +2, and so on and so forth. Now, just a quick test for yourself. Go ahead and in your notes, draw the ion for calcium, and then draw the ion for oxygen. So if we look on our periodic table, calcium is in our first group or column. So first, what I have to do to write my ion is I have to write the symbol, then I have to write the charge, and my gain or loss. Calcium is going to be a +1 ion. For oxygen, oxygen is all the way over in the 6th family. So oxygen is going to be a -2 ion. Now take a second, write down in your notes, what do you think are most likely to lose electrons? Metals, nonmetals, or metalloids? So if we're losing electrons, we are becoming more positive. Go ahead and write down your guess. Our answer is actually metals, because our metals are all over here, and these are our lowest electronegativity. So they are going to be our most likely to lose electrons. So what does that mean about which elements are most likely to gain electrons? This actually means that our nonmetals, which are our guys over here, are most likely to gain electrons and become a negative charge, negative ion. Now, when we're talking about transition metals are those ones in the periodic table that are right in the middle, about here. Their charges are sometimes going to fluctuate. They may depend. So copper, for example, can sometimes be a +1, sometimes a +2. And iron can sometimes be a +2, sometimes be a +3. They're not always constant. But the important thing to note is that these three right here are going to never change. These will always be constant. Make sure you copy these down. Just to recap, with metals, we are going to lose electrons, so we are going to be a positive charge, and we are going to become a cation. With nonmetals, we are going to have a gain of electrons. We are gaining and becoming a negative charge. We're going to become an anion. Last quick thing here, we have something called polyatomic ions. These are ions that are composed of 2 or more atoms that have an overall charge. These are some of your common polyatomic ions. We treat these as if they're one composite element or ion. They always stick together, and we treat them as if they are one thing. You will not have to memorize these. These are going to be found on the back of your periodic table, and you'll have access to this for your test. All right, this is where we're stopping for today. Go ahead, write down any questions you have. You will have an opportunity to ask these questions at the beginning of class. Have a good night.